Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Della Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that the Inquisitorial party has boarded Cainhurst's ship, pursued by enemies. Attikus and Chora found the armoury stripped of weapons. Eli and Kotov tried and failed to activate the ship's weapons, while Valentyne and Morgan found the psyker's quarters, which were a scene of madness all their own. Can these heroes find answers before they're overrun by Tyranids? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From the design notes of The Dream of Flight. Well, defenses. Look, all I'm saying is that if we really have to prepare to be boarded, then me and my retinue really haven't been doing our jobs then, have we? We'll be fine. Inquisitor Cainhurst.
I hate that guy.
There's something kind of magical about the sound of like rain on a tin roof or on metal. It can be very soothing. In the grim darkness of the future where there's only war, that sound exists too, but it's not rain so much as it is lasgun fire pinging off the sides of the Dream of Flight. You are holed up inside Inquisitor Cainhurst's ship. Valentyne, you and Morgan have found the remains of Devram Gnarl in his quarantined off quarters. Some kind of psyker event seems to have occurred, but from what you read of the notices and writs that have been placed outside, they all seemed very generic. And as you'll recall, almost like broad generalizations of what you think. Like if you know it's psychery, but you don't really know why, you're kind of like bad. So you're uncertain exactly what's happened there. Eli, you and our tinkerer friend made your way up to the bridge of the ship, only to find that the Mercy for the Pure is draining the ship's battery ever so slightly, but enough to really kind of fuck with the systems. That said, you were able to lock the ship down and seal the doors basically for space flight in order to slow down any potential boarding actions. Meanwhile, Attikus, you and Chora went to investigate the situation in the armoury and found that all relevant weapons had been taken aside from some antiques that kind of fit the decor, which makes sense given the amount of firepower that's being poured into the hull of the ship right now. That is where you find yourselves. There's obviously the pinging of things. You can hear plasma weapons charging up outside, soon to fire. Valentyne, you and Rawls are in Devram Gnarl's quarters, and again, there's just that overwhelming smell of incense. The room is covered in paper. You can see that it's not all blank scrolls. The pages of books have been torn out and written over, and it's probably a sight that isn't unfamiliar to you as an Inquisitor, because this is the kind of stuff that when people's minds start to slip a bit, as often happens in the annals of the Inquisition, this sort of mania and sort of frenzied obsessive writing is definitely a symptom of some dark purposes. That said, you've just found the body, as we described last session. His body is desiccated in kind of a mummy-esque way. He's clearly been in the sealed room for a long time. The skull has a giant sort of grin, rictus grin, and is like arms out, laid back, kind of like almost like he's in a hot tub. Like it's that kind of level of like slouch, comfortable slouch on his couch. With the smiley face and the lettering. You're also experiencing some kind of effect similar to the visions you've seen in terms of your optics being fucked with a little bit, and just a sense of vertigo almost. Like your stomach is kind of constantly a little off. and you almost feel like you're falling forward or backward standing in this room. You're not taking damage, or you're not even taking strain, but if it wasn't for your conditioning and that skill that always lets you drop setbacks, you feel like you'd be having just physical effects. It's not like anything is plucking at the edges of your brain. That said, Morgan, you definitely felt something tap, tap, tap at the edge of your consciousness, which wasn't great. So, good times in the cabin. You're both standing there. What do you do?
Valentyne will take out his Auspex and activate Eugene, and he just wants to get as many photographs and scans of this scene exactly as it is, because everything in here is probably going to have to be taken out of here real fucking quick. But he wants to know if there's any importance in the ways the pages are laid out. And while he's just getting his general kind of forensic recording, he wants to see, he's looking around to see if there's anything obviously like runes, if there's some sort of little altar, if there's something, because if this psyker is dead, a psyker's dead body is unlikely to cause this level of psychic confusion. It could be imprinted on the place, and that could be it. But there may also just be like, oh, he painted this thing on the wall, or oh, there's this weird circle of bullshit over here.
Yeah, I like that. So let's go Forbidden Lore, I think, although we could probably make the case for investigate.
Would perception work? Because I don't think investigation is a thing.
No, it's not it's not in this game. It's a different game.
I tooled up perception because I thought it feels like it might be the investigate, but I could.
Yeah, perception's fine. I would take perception or Forbidden Lore. You can pick your poison, and it depends on how Valentyne would be looking for it. I think it's Forbidden Lore if you're kind of like quickly scanning things to read them. If it's just a quick Arkham Batman investigation, right click the right stick to get a quick flash of the scene.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because if he sees something that's causing these physical symptoms, he's destroying that. He's not keeping that.
Yeah,
that's not something he can fuck with on his own time. What's my difficulty, Tom?
I'm gonna say, given that you're trying to do this quickly, and this seems almost like a crime of convenience to me in terms of like, if there's a totem you want to smash it, but you know there's other things afoot. So I'm going to say difficulty, let's go 3. I was going to say 4, but I feel like 3 is fine for this. In terms of setback, you would have the one that gets knocked away from your conditioning. You have your Auspex, so we'll say that's, I think, 2 boost probably. Actually, how much of the Auspex would be tied up in Eugene's scans? I feel like a lot of it.
I mean, they're 2 separate things, so if they're linked, we could say they're linked, I guess.
Okay, so if Eugene is doing this, if you're using the Auspex to just kind of investigate the room, and Eugene is doing the scans of the room, then we can call them completely separate things.
Great, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so then I'll give you 2 boosts for the Auspex, and I'll give you 1 boost just for general instinct on this, I think.
Okie dokie.
And I believe our story point situation remains unchanged. We haven't really touched those. So it's 3 and 2 in your favor.
Yeah.
I don't need a story point for this one. Let's just see what happens.
Sure.
5 success, 2 threat.
Hey.
All right. So you're quickly able to determine that of the 2 situations you described, it's the latter that or the former. There's an imprint. I forget which one you said first.
It's like the room imprint. Yeah, it's the room imprint.
There's definitely a room imprint, and it almost, to you, it's like lingering. The smell of smoke in a room where someone was a smoker for a long time. It's just like a lingering psionic scent that has permeated the space. That said, the smiley face and don't worry, be happy. You almost get a bit of an afterglow as you look around, like an after image. If you get like, a flash bulb or something, and your eyes kind of track it as you look away. Of course, like Valentyne, you are aware that this is not something that your eyes are physically transmitting. It is something that your brain is envisioning. That said, it's not like the psionic energy is pulsing off of that. Like if you wipe that off the wall, it's not like the psychic energy goes away. It's just something seemingly of significance and power. And actually, with 5 successes, if there was like a shrine or anything, it's kind of him at this point. It's like him in that wall. He has kind of become the shrine, even though there's no psychic power emanating off him. He's just a corpse.
Yeah, I think the moment he's got like the images of the area, is there a kit bag or something? Like a lot of these people got to be kind of like up and good to go, like an over the shoulder bag or something like that.
There should be, there isn't. You can probably find one empty that's been kind of dumped out and discarded. The vibe you get from this place, and Morgan, I think this would be very familiar to you. You see this in like a lot of cult compounds and stuff when people clear out real quick, or like when people go in for the aftermath, and it's just like all of the things in this room that should have had significance to someone who was not experiencing any kind of major psychic effects, or like having this, whatever he was going through happen to them. All of the stuff that is conventionally useful is ignored and kind of discarded and scattered around to make room for whatever he was doing with the paper. So like his there is absolutely a go bag. It's been emptied out, and anything that had paper in it has been taken out, ripped up, and used for other stuff. But like, you know, there's like an old flask of water and like a couple of rations and a gun that are just not, they're kind of like under the bed in a corner because they were just cast away as useless.
Morgan, could you do me a favor and let's just say loot the room? Anything written, anything recorded, anything technical, it all goes into the bag, along with this. And he's going to reach out with his power sword and just cut Devram Gnarl's head off. And there's, I don't know what Kotov can do with it. Let's find out. And he'll just hand it to her totally chill.
Right.
Morgan, how do you receive the head?
Morgan has been following Valentyne around the room, like watching his back. She swapped to her sidearm instead of the sniper rifle. And at this point, she hates being in here. So it's like whatever she can do to do what he wants and get the fuck out of the room. So yes, Inquisitor, and taking the head and dumping it in the bag and then doing all the stuff running around as fast as possible.
Okay. So, sorry, Ryan, did you have a
I was going to say,
there?
while she's doing that, Valentyne would like to take his power sword and see if he can carve out a square around the psychic disturbance on the wall. And if he takes it down, does the disturbance go with the piece he's carrying, or does it stay there?
In terms of the after image glow thing, it seems very much attached to. So, are you taking the whole thing, or just a chunk of it?
The don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
To run you through what Valentyne's head is,
please,
is we have a bunch of people ready to storm this fucking place. And if he can take this down and say, lay it in a hallway they're going to storm through, and all of a sudden they all get vertigo while he shoots at them, that seems really useful. So if he takes down this sigil, will it go on a walk with them, or does he have to lure them into this room?
So you carve it, and what I'll say is like the after image glow travels with it, so it seems to be tied to like the words and the blood paint. But if you throw it out in the hallway and like poke your nose out into the hall briefly, you still feel ill, but you get the sense that you're feeling ill from the room. Again, the smoke metaphor is like pretty apt. There's a psionic seepage in there. And admittedly, Morgan was feeling the effects in the hall as well. So if you are looking for a choke point that might have some effects, this anywhere around this doorway is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, we want him to have to come past this door to us. Okay, then yeah, he'll log that strategically, but Morgan's been dumping stuff in a bag. So how's Morgan doing?
Well, yeah, Morgan, let's get you to roll on this, because
Sure.
I think, again, there's like a difference between like grab and go is like a very, particularly when you're stressed, is like a weird thing. So I'm going to make a case for, I'm going to give you three options for this. You can either take survival, streetwise, or skullduggery. Because I think each of them is likely a skill you have used for something similar to this, and I'm curious what you think Morgan is leaning into here.
Yeah, in this case, I would say that it's skullduggery, because she has in the past had to bug out of places very quickly. So I think even knowing where things are in the room, or might be, like getting down on her hands and knees and going under furniture and things like that, just, okay, every corner, doing it from one corner to the other, get out of here.
Okay, awesome. So this is going to be difficulty 3. I'm going to give you a setback for the stress you're under, and just the general vibe of this room. I'm going to give you a setback for the fact that this isn't, you're applying a panicked animal survival brain to a room that was literally the least concerned with animal panic and like biological necessity possible. So it's kind of fucking with you, because everything that should be in a certain place for survival reasons isn't. So it's the kind of thing where it's like, I'm going to check out under the bed. And you find like a gun in water. And you're like, why is that? No, like this is where the secret stuff is. And then there's like, you know, a sack of emergency crowns and like a credit shit or something just like haphazardly stuffed in the sink. It just like the logic of it isn't there for you, which is fucking with your bug out ability somewhat. I'll give you a boost for just the fact that like Valentyne is there. It means if anything bad is coming, you have a Valentyne between it and you, which gives you a little bit of peace of mind. And then I'll give you just a boost for having done this a bunch. This is something you're good at, and you're good at in unfamiliar spaces. So being in familiar spaces is pretty good. We're at 3 and 2 still.
I was going to say, I would like to give you a story point. I don't know how this affects you, so I'd love to hear it because it could be good or bad. But essentially, Valentyne immediately trusted you with the key element of the whole mission you've been trying to do while he's paying attention to other things. And I don't know if that would affect you or how, but he's clearly been like, oh, the most important thing I need to do, you do that. I'm going to go check something.
Aw.
Morgan
will remember this.
That's right. Well, I'll take it. Hopefully we don't let Valentyne down. Because, things are going better than they could have. All right. I'm going to roll it. It's pretty even, but we'll see. Oof. 4 successes, 1 threat.
Okay. I'm just tracking the 3 unspent threat that are just floating around in the ether. It's so nice.
The threat is just time moving forward while we do this.
People are attacking us from outside.
The threat is just having to remember that time you lived on the ship and you hated it.
Also that.
Therapy is really expensive in 40K. It's made of pewter. They haven't figured out how to make plastic therapy yet. You're good at this. Also, again, the fact that it is so disorganized means you can kind of just like arm sweep shit into a bag, which is helpful. You're not having to open books and look for useful stuff. You're able to just, you're almost like a supermarket sweepstakes person where you're just able to like pull shit into the bag as fast as you can. But this whole space feels off to you. Also, like you didn't encounter Deverum Gnarl at all, but like nothing about this feels right or good, and you're actually not really sure why Cainhurst would have this guy, let alone like what happened here.
Or like how long ago this happened, because she's been gone from them for 5 years. So it's could be any number of time between then and now. That's a big question mark too.
Does any of this look familiar to you? Are you recognizing anything as you go? He's holding a giant piece of sheet metal and just like drops it in the hallway, leans out and is like, damn.
No, I mean, all of the quarters are the same, but I've never seen anything like this at all. She says, stuffing things in a bag on her hands and knees.
There are many flavors of Inquisitor. Was Cainhurst one of those, oh, please, paint the walls in your blood, Inquisitors, or was he perhaps, one might say, a little more hardline mono-dominant?
I would say nice. He tried to pretend to be friendly, but he always seemed to have ulterior motives to me.
Yes, well, I'm afraid that's just an Inquisitor. That's not really any particular brand. Was he a devout fellow, or shall we say a bit more religiously flexible?
What would
Morgan,
you say, Tom?
It honestly never came up, and that's kind of fucked up now that you think about it. But in terms of like, I think I comped him to Tom Hanks. In kind of just that like friendly Tom Hanksy way, he would generally, like, in thinking about it, you never heard him really ever state clearly one way or the other. Admittedly, even though like on Last Gleaming, you certainly heard about both sides. Like again, the Eisenhorn books do a fantastic job of like giving you a rundown of like, here's all the different kinds of Inquisitors you could run into. Here's what they sound like. They're awful. And I think you've heard secondhand cases of a lot of that. It just never really clicked until now that you actually like Valentine's gun to your head. You wouldn't be able to say, because he never really talked about it, which is in line with what you just said as well in terms of like the pretend friendliness. But you never observed anything like openly blasphemous as you would define openly blasphemous. Like you had your radar up for chaos cult shit because of, you know, who you are and where you're from. And it's not like because I know, Ryan, I know what Valentyne is asking specifically about like Devrim Gnarl and everything else. Morgan, you never saw anything like this. Like there wasn't just, oh, and also we have this one heretic, but don't worry, he's my heretic. Like it's cool. Or like there's just like a daemon host who like hangs out at the bar. Like there wasn't any of that. At the same time, he wasn't walking around devoutly espousing like the value of hardline anything.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, he wasn't very openly religious, but not against it. But this is far beyond anything that I thought he would be involved in whatsoever.
Yeah, so this was beyond him, but he wasn't religious. Well, that explains why he's dead. I'm going to see if there's anyone else down this hallway in any of these rooms that could be useful. Perhaps someone set up something or left something behind. Just any symbols that could help clue me in on where this band was thinking.
Yeah, so Valentyne, this tracks with what you read about the psyker, like the quarantine badge, like paperwork as well, which is, if someone was bringing along a slightly unhinged psyker and something went wrong, they wouldn't be like, oh shit, I don't know, stock standard, like fill in the blanks heresy contract. They would know because you have literally done that with your party. Like, who the dangers are. You've already assigned people to kill them as needed. So yeah, it tracks that this doesn't seem like an active, I brought this guy along for this purpose and then he slipped. It seems like
psyker stuff goes wrong.
Psyker stuff. Yeah. Okay. So Valentyne, you take off down the hall as Morgan, you continue to just stuff things in the bag as fast as you can. And with the amount of successes you rolled, I gotta say, like, it feels pretty good. It feels good to be getting this done because each armful you pull into the bag, just like it's one it's one moment closer to leaving, which feels great until you notice that there's just like a broad smile on your face, and you're not really a smiley person.
No.
And it's somewhat alarming to you to find your face in that position, kind of unknowingly as you continue to fill the bag. Eli, you're on the bridge. As I said, there are minimal, like the ship basically has like it's in power save mode.
Yep.
So the lights are on. You're able to seal the doors. I think
you've got life support.
Yeah, you've got minimal. Well. Yeah, I think we could say you have minimal life support.
Okay.
It would be the again, like since you're on emergency power, it's kind of the equivalent of like thin mountain air,
Yeah,
like
fair. Yeah.
But I think probably when you sealed it, it likely switched to an internally cycled air system. So minimal life support. That said, although a lot of the sort of engine power stuff, you can't really fuck with that too much because it's been very, very specifically rigged to work in a very specific way.
Yeah.
There are other systems on the ship you might be able to get active. We've established that like the weapons aren't really an option, but in terms of sensors and other things, there may be some tricks you can play, or knowing how much fire is hitting the ship. Like you're getting all the appropriate alarm systems about kind of like hull integrity and other things. You could go join Attikus.
Can I get confirmation? Can I try with the sensors to like confirm what is attacking us?
Sure. Yeah. So let's go with a tech use.
Yeah.
You are hacking this, so I'm going to go with difficulty 3.
Okay.
That said, you do still have, I believe, 2 charges left in Kotov, or did you use one last? Yeah, because there wasn't enough system to use it on last time. So, if you want to jack up your one of your dice, basically it's like a free story point in this kind of situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. So you can use that. In terms of, and I'll give you a boost just for, again, it's a familiar ship. Like, there's been someone is clearly.
I know what to look for. I know.
Yeah, someone's clearly tampered with it. Like, it's almost the equivalent of like they've installed an unfamiliar OS on it, but like where the. Also, I horrified to think of what like an operating system in fucking 40K is like, just like screaming digital skulls. It's like, would you like to select a different screaming digital skull? But yeah, you're familiar enough with these systems to know what to look for. Anything else you would want to add, or obviously not subtract, but
Nah.
Cool.
Sounds about right.
All right, let's kick it.
4 successes, baby.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, so yeah, you're able to, you discover Kotov is kind of like plugged in. He's like, huh, yeah, they, that's funny. They didn't even bother to look at this. They clearly don't care about sensing anything. So, I mean, hooray for us. And he, like, his finger, like, disjoints in a horrible way as he, like, clicks it through kind of modern times style through various gears and cogs and just clicks something, and suddenly the old sensor screens pop back to life, Eli.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's like, you know, just the horrible like yellow on black glow of Imperium technology, but man, it just like yum yum yum. It's nice for something to be working on the ship the way you remember it. And it's a little bit like that sensor in Alien, but if instead of one blip, it was like I believe the correct terminology is a metric fuck ton of blips.
Yep.
So there's just like a swarm around you. That said, Eli, what's odd to you
inside the engineering bay?
that have surrounded surrounded the ship. You are also getting like movement pings if we're kind of doing like the full spread. Yep. There's clearly movement on the floor above you. There's likely whatever these things are up there too. What's odd for you on this arrangement is you've never really known Tyranids to hang back and fire. It's not that Tyranids are incapable of that, but like their real strength is up close and clawing. And it's very odd that there's like this vast number of like enemy pings outside that are shooting las guns.
If it is, I would imagine it would be like, they wouldn't be like full on Tyranids. They'd be like humans, like on their way.
Brood brothers, as they can be called.
Yeah, brood brothers. Yeah, like
could be.
Yeah, there's definitely been instances of that. They'll often like, I think it's gene stealers are like usually on their way. It's not. There's one. What am I thinking of here? Yeah, gene stealer hybrids are certainly a known thing. There's a lot of like people slowly being, you know, bioformed by Tyranids into stuff. So that's the most likely thing for you. But again, like the horror in your head wasn't that. It was like gene stealers and homogrants and things just like tearing through the halls. Like you had a very different experience of it, but it's within the realm.
Well, that doesn't tell me anything.
But it was so successful.
Yeah.
All right.
Give me more, Tom.
That's what you get. That's what you get from using the scanners on a ship to determine if humanoid things are attacking it. The answer is there are a lot of things outside and they are shooting at you.
All right. Well.
Oh, actually, you know what? No, I can give you a bit more. Plasma starts to hit the outside.
There we go.
The alarms, if possible, start to sound even more insistent as the first couple plasma gun shots hit the hull and begin to kind of eat away at...
The hull temperature is rising. You'd have that on sensors.
Yeah.
And Eli just says, "Arr," and heads down the hall to Attikus.
It's classic catchphrase.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So Attikus, you and Chora are setting up for defensive actions. I think at this point, you could easily kind of like check in with Valentyne if you want, given that he is also setting up choke points. But Valentyne, I don't know. You're searching rooms though, so maybe you're not like tactically available.
Valentyne would be on comms, but he's given everybody orders, and right now he and Morgan are working on like priority 1 work. Mm-hmm. Survival will come for him, but the rest of the team will organize that, and then he can like jump over. So if he gets calmed in, he'll talk to anybody. Like he's available, but he's also aware that like Eli's on the bridge and Attikus is the one checking weapons. It'd be weird for him to try to micromanage what he's not aware of.
Yeah, that's fair. Attikus, what kind of defense are you trying to set up?
Just knocking over crates for creating cover and things like that. and sealing doors, like disabling the like computer panel for opening and closing them and things like that. Just making it difficult to get through the ship, creating choke points. He's prepared to lay down his life for Valentyne, so he will also be staying sort of like on the front line, prepared for the first wave of people coming in.
Great. So you kind of do the base level preparations you've just outlined, and then you hear the plasma start to slam into the ship, and you can tell that it's hitting what would be not the kind of like the ramp that you guys came in, but it seems to be targeted on what would probably be like an airlock for traveling between ships. So like a polite airlock rather than, a true extravehicular, like a proper EVA heavy hatch. This one is literally like if you put one of those umbilicals between ships and popped a door, you'd be able to walk down the hallway. So think like an airplane door rather than a ramp. So it's still sealed, but it is definitely squishier than the full ramp that descends and rises. And it is being pummeled. You can see the sort of a faint glow almost appearing, which is a telltale sign of repeated plasma fire. And I think with a quick kind of like sprint around the deck, you can tell that this is going to be the breach point, or at least the first breach point. There are plasma hits happening elsewhere. There aren't that many, but there are certainly a few. So there are other points that are getting weakened, but this will be the point of entry.
Okay, well then that's where I'll be.
Okay. So Chora kind of takes position beside you, kind of like, I think, kind of doing the like, over. I assume you have your shield out, or are you just like, yeah?
I'd have my shield out,
she'll be on the other side, so leaving you plenty of room to punch, and just kind of like over your shoulder with the gun to just shoot anything that isn't in power fist range.
Right.
Which admittedly in a hole this small is not going to be much because you can just slam right through that. Do you let everyone else know?
Yeah. I would get on the what is it called? The micro bead? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just say, which side of the vessel is this on?
We are going to say this is on starboard.
All right. He would just get on and say, enemy plasma fire is creating a small breach on the starboard side of the vessel. Interrogator Chora and myself have prepared a barricade and are ready to lay down our lives for you, sir.
Appreciated. At the same time, I prefer that you maintain them on an ongoing basis. Create a number of fallback positions. Fall back towards the quarters where I am with Morgan. There is a psychic disturbance that undoubtedly will unsettle the foe as much as it will us. It's a great time to, shall we say, put a few holes in them for the Emperor. So, engage as we will, stay alive, fall back, cause maximum casualties for them and minimal for us.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Then Eli, if you are on the bridge, he's got like kicking in a door and seeing if anybody's got any cool shit in their rooms. If there's the possibility of, one might say, I don't know, reversing gravity, cutting it out in here, or just cutting power to this entire ship, we have grav boots and they don't. So I would love it if we could try to disrupt some of the systems, maybe make things a bit more hellish for whoever's trying to shoot at us.
Disrupt systems on the ship, sir? We don't have that much control.
Oh, well, chug it. Just shoot them all. This is going to be a fun time. You know, the Emperor wants things to be simple sometimes, and right now, we've practiced boarding actions for a reason.
Valentyne, can you please roll me a willpower check? I'm going to say willpower and discipline. Difficulty 4. I'm going to give you 1 boost, I think, for your sort of imperial conditioning. And that's it. I'm also going to spend a story point to jack this up on my end. This is the equivalent in D&D terms of like a save, so I can't really tell you what it's for, but
valid. 1 threat.
Okay. As Valentyne, as you say all of this, like there's a moment of just sort of true elation that spikes through in the center of this, where for a horrific moment internally for you, your kind of studied, trained optimism seems to just completely give way to an actual, like, for a second you bought it. You actually like fully believed it yourself, that like, oh no, like this is a great day. Like no hint of threat, no hint of the usual kind of like, this is how you combat the world. Just for a minute, you were like legitimately really happy that these threats were about to punch through the side of the ship and that you couldn't act with things. But it passed quickly and your brain kind of self-adjusted. But it felt not great.
Morgan, I mean this in the most respectful way possible. Hurry up in that room. I don't think it's good for either of us psychologically.
Oh, Morgan's not going to respond. She's just, is she done yet? Can she leave this room? My God.
You're getting close. There's a lot of walls to pull stuff down off of. For some reason, you're just getting like, you've just pulled down a montage of Vicodin liquor labels, which is just super weird. It kind of feels like the things like a teenager would peel off and stick to their wall. But Inquisitor said everything, so you're just stuffing them in a bag. And Valentyne,
she will also have for hovering in the door is Toby. So as soon as she gets all the stuff in this bag, she's going to have Toby carry it and then find Valentyne. So that's her next plan of action.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Valentyne, in terms of the rooms you're booting the door on, there's not a lot. They seem pretty cleared out. You would say, I think, at a glance, they look not looted, but efficiently cleared out the way you would if you were abandoning the ship. So, there are things left behind, but all of the things you'd expect to be missing are missing. And, beds are still made, drawers are closed, everything is properly kind of like closed up for flight. But you're certainly not finding any mummies or anything of that ilk.
Fair enough. Does he find any bottles of booze?
No.
Okay.
You can find some empty ones in the recycling equivalents. Why do you ask?
He's thinking about improvising booby traps, where he's like, if he could take a couple of bolt shells and put them in a pillowcase and splash it with some kind of amasec, then you just light it up, toss it down the hallway, and you've got 10 bolt shells going off at once. Just ways he could rig things up as improvised grenades or other weapons with what he has, because he's a paranoid sociopath. He's gonna have way more bullets than he'll ever be able to use in this fight before they're on him. So any way he could rig up something dangerous.
Honestly, you're really finding very little, in a way that's, again, you can find pencils and things. It's just that level of stuff that's just, people have left the occasional thing behind. But generally speaking, no, you're not finding medical supplies. You're not finding, lighters, or there's just a distinct, it's like anything useful has been taken politely.
Then I think what he's going to do is, I'm imagining this room is towards, not the front, but the back of the ship. I'm not good with nautical terms. Towards the back where the engines are, if we're at the bridge for the other one. Then he's just going to be breaking down bunks, getting out desks, and just trying to barricade that fucking engine room. Because if that's the final fallback position, they need to make as much of a wall there as they can, so they can run in, close it, get murdery, but hold the hull the whole way back to it. Because the longer we can keep them, barricades, so we can keep them in crazy psyker zone, then fall back from there to just a position where we've got Attikus and a shield, and then just fist and sword them until they can manage to kill us.
Cool. So just so I'm aware, and we can forget about the front and the back, and I'll tell you where this lives on the ship in a moment. But are you trying to set this up near the ramp you came in, or because basically the way I'm imagining this ship, the direction you came from, if we ignore nautical terms entirely and just use this map I'm looking at, from the south is the bridge of the hospital ship. So you guys were traveling north to the engine room. You arrived in the engine room to find Cainhurst's ship. You're now inside Cainhurst's ship.
Yes.
I think we can say Devram Gnarl's quarters are just kind of somewhere in the middle. So in terms of where you would like to set up your last stand and your fallback, are you trying to fall back closer to where you came from, which is the bridge of Cainhurst's ship, but closer to the... Because his ship is facing the same direction as the ship.
Okay, so to paint it maybe a little more vague so we don't have to map out the entire interior of a ship. Basically, he wants to create fallback points, so if Attikus, Chora, Eli, and Kotov are falling back from combat, they can fall back to other areas he's also set up. So you can double the length of the fallback period they've got.
And it would make sense, since the enemies came out of the north end of the ship, that you don't want to be near that. So we'll say that you are basically falling back to the bridge of Cainhurst's ship.
Perfect.
Where Eli was... I guess the only other thing is, Valentyne, would you spend any time searching for Cainhurst's quarters, or are you just kind of taking whatever is close by?
Yeah, on the way he would scope it out. It's a mixed bag now. They can't afford to die here because then they get nothing, and he's got Devram's stuff in a bag, which is the most valuable, but Cainhurst is that side quest on a mission that you're like, if I can do this in this run, I'll do it, but I don't want to risk failing the primary goal.
I agree, and I think that's very valid. I was mostly just curious. So let's go then. Let's roll to see if you just encounter it. Because if you're not actively searching for it, there's a very good chance you could just miss it, and that's
fine.
Absolutely. And I think true to form for what you're doing. So let's call this, we will honestly just take this as a perception. I'm going to say difficulty of 2, no boost, no setback from me, just a straight check.
Yeah, I think this is a straight check too, because it's not his soul's quest. This was just up to fate. It happens or it doesn't.
Yeah, it's nice to open your menu and not see it anymore.
I would like to rephrase, because fate made a very bold play. 2 triumphs, 2 boosts.
Jesus.
And weirdly enough...
2 boot... Wait, what?
2 advantage, 1 failure. God help us all. Good luck with that roll, Tom. Have a nice time.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so 2 triumphs, 2 advantages,
1 failure.
And a failure.
How?
So... That's fucking...
I don't understand.
This thing doesn't do totals, but it's what I rolled.
Well, no,
so.
I could, basically there's some debate amongst the Genesis community that I'm sure someone listening to this would be able to easily solve, and is currently screaming into their earphones like a ghost. And I apologize in advance to you, whomever you are, because you are absolutely right, and I'm about to be probably very wrong. But as I understand it, there's basically 2 ways you can play Triumph and Despair in Genesis. One is that they cancel out successes and failures. The other is that they still count as triumphs, but you can still fail the check, but you get your triumphs either way. So what I'm guessing probably happened on this roll is you didn't get enough successes to nuke all the failures, but you still have 2 triumphs because
basically
the Emperor himself wanted you to have some fun.
Yeah, what did you get?
To give you the run, 2 triumphs, 1 success, 2 advantage, 2 failure. That's what was rolled.
Okay. All right. So then it is just not counting triumphs as successes. It's just counting them as triumphs. So, okay.
I mean, Ryan, you could do something vital that changes the balance in the scene.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have to dictate this to you. So, Valentyne, if there's something you would want to do with a triumph, if there's something you would want to spend a triumph on, if that's finding fuel and being able to rig this place up, then we can just have that. You can just have that from Cainhurst's quarters, frankly.
I thought you were on it, so I didn't think at all.
No, I'm good.
Sorry, I was just looking at this Ben chart. How to spend
Laura
triumphs,
made me
and I was
question
like,
my usual methodologies here.
No.
Okay.
I'm committed to the Tommy method. Tommy, tell me what I do.
Okay, so
what happened, God?
You are running past rooms. You can hear the clanging of Attikus just dropping heavy shit. You're pulling stuff out. You have no word from Morgan, which means she isn't done yet, but is probably still working very hard. And just as you're passing, it's almost like one of those classic movie moments where you run past a door. And then you sort of stop and come back because one of these rooms is not like the others. And yet one of these rooms seems to like very much belong. It is as overdone as the carpeting and the walls. It's like a little, almost like huntsman's room. Like Gaston would have felt real comfortable in here. There's like antlers in all of the decorating. So heavily adorned walls, just a big wooden desk, wood paneling on the walls, green carpet. And just a giant wingback chair that, of course, has like the appropriate amount of skulls and spiky bits on it to be a 40K chair, and like a console, and very much like the Inquisitor's office and quarters. That said, it seems to have been cleared out the same way that everything else on board the ship has. Like everything seems to be in its place. Like the chair is like pushed into the desk, but very much abandoned. With your triumphs, a couple things happen. One is there is a bottle of very fine, very old Amersec with a thin layer of dust on it, sitting corked on the table, almost full. And next to it is just a single tumbler glass with just like a couple fingers poured into it that seems to have just been sitting there. There's like a film over it, and it's kind of dusty in the Amersec, like it's gross, but it's clearly been kind of left out as something of significance. If you were to guess, you would say it was a tribute of some sort, but you're not sure what or why. That said, it is a full bottle of liquor that you can use to make your little bomb bags if you feel so inclined, off of your triumph. You have two triumphs. So one is that you get enough Home Alone shit or Skyfall shit to just like really make the space a bad day. The other triumph, I think I'll say, is the machinery in here is powered down, but a cursory glance around the desk with your usual level of paranoia reveals a latch that you can activate. Like it's almost like the fuel door in a car. You pop it and you hear something kind of thump in the engine room, or sorry, in the bridge, and it seems like there's probably like a bolt hole that has opened up on the bridge that has been activated from the Inquisitor. Basically, like the Inquisitor's got like an emergency exit. Both from this room and from the bridge. So if you guys need out in a hurry, you now have a way. That's awkward. It's like climbing through a manhole cover and falling out the bottom of the ship. But it was activated from this room. The failure is that the hull melts and things start to come through. But Valentyne, is there anything else you want to do in this room before all hell breaks loose?
So there's nothing written. He's not seeing anything like that. He's got the booze. He found the latch. And if he's not spotting anything, then like, no. I mean, he'd expect Cainhurst to kind of clean this place out, realistically.
Yep. As you pour the cup of Amersec back in the bottle, so you have maximum fuel, on the napkin, the square napkin that is sort of stuck to the bottom as a makeshift coaster. You just see one word written in kind of sort of looping font. It just says it's not one word, it's three words. Onward and upward, with an exclamation mark, a jaunty exclamation mark. It's written almost in the Disney font. Like just there's too many loops, and it's very, very ornate, but seems to have been just kind of casually scrawled on it. And it is stuck to the bottom of the glass.
And Valentyne is going to look at that and realize Cainhurst isn't here. They abandoned the corrupted psyker. Clearly they were on their way out. He's going to assume Cainhurst is somehow involved and is likely his next target. And he's just going to say, oh, good hunting to me.
Which is an appropriate sentiment to kind of have top of mind as the hull melts away. And Attikus, you watch as scythe-like claws begin to emerge through the molten metal. You know, just yet another threat to Valentyne and the Imperium just fucking waiting to get punched. Look, salvage runs are getting harder and harder these days, and you know, the Lords of Terror are just making it much harder for all of us out here. All I'm saying is we could really use this job. And I mean, look, North Star isn't paying us nearly enough for what we're doing and the kind of risks we have to take. And this guy seems pretty on the level. So I'm just saying, let's drag the barge to wherever it needs it dragged. We'll make a bunch of money. We'll go home. Everything will be fine. What, the guns? The guns don't work on that thing. Trust me. Everything's going to turn out just fine. Corrupted log from North Star Hauling. Attikus, metal shouldn't bend. It's not malleable. It shouldn't kind of bubble. And yet you see that telltale sign of blades pushing through as the superheated plasma melts the hull door. And scythe-like blades pierce through, sort of after one of those like long kind of gummy stretches. They are just red hot from having come through this sort of bone scythe type pieces. The good news is they are still far away from you because they have to get through this metal, and you've been able to bide your time. But sure enough, after that first one comes through, a second one, a third one, and they begin pulling down and starting to shred. How long do you wait before you start punching is, I guess, the question in that, at both literal and figurative hand.
When the hull is sufficiently weak that it's not going to hinder my punch. Where I don't have to worry about the wall too much. Most of the damage will go on to the people on the other side of it, people or things.
Yeah.
He's not here to help. He's here to hurt.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Also, thank you for the amendment on people or things. That's an important distinction for this particular moment in punching. Okay, phenomenal. So you see claws pulling down, and soon you kind of have like a ragged curtain, and it's ragged enough that you can punch through without damaging the power fist, but also beyond, you can see the kind of like purple and kind of like obsidian sort of like bone plates over kind of like just a vaguely sickening purple flesh of you know, just some proper Tyranid gene stealers just starting to claw their way through with some homogrants up front slashing through. You can see the gene stealers with their multiple arms, jagged teeth, and kind of like venom style tongues, just kind of like starting to reach through and pull. And basically, you can tell that there's a mob that is kind of like pulling at this little hole. What do you do?
Great. Well, if I can see faces, that's perfect. Attikus will say, "Interrogator Chora, prepare to fall back," and they'll lunge forward with one good punch.
All right, one solid punch through a wall. So Hormagaunts using their claws to kind of pull through. Gene Stealer is starting to, here's Johnny in behind. And as you say, Attikus, you see some faces. Faces are good for punching, so let the punching begin. Okay, so this is a melee attack at close range, which it has been a hot second since we've rolled dice for this. I believe it's just 2. Difficulty of 2?
Yep, that's the auto basis for physical combat.
Yeah.
It's 2.
So difficulty of 2. I'm going to give you boost for the fact that it is a tiny hole they're pulling through metal, and you're just standing there waiting to punch. So you get 1 for that. I'm going to give you another 1 for just how closely packed they are. This is some proper like yum positioning for high level murder. Those are honestly, I think, and I'll give you, I guess, an additional boost for Chora, who I think would be safe to say that, like, if any of them were getting too close, would very easily be able to, like, just pump rounds into them to kind of keep them in that perfect punching zone. So one, Hormagaunt doesn't pop through because they're a little smaller.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So
I
that's
said
it.
Prepare to fall back and not to retreat. So yeah, she'd be ready. She'd be ready to fire off some shots.
Yeah.
Not turn
Well,
her
and also
back.
she's kind of like side arming over your shield. So I think that's a safe, like if you're just like stepping back, firing into the breach, that's a safe thing. Currently our story point situation is 2 and 3 in your favor. Oh wow. I wrote this down completely wrong. It is now 4 and 1 in your favor because I spent one last round.
I think I'm good, honestly.
I think you are too. I just wanted you to know.
Yeah.
Let fly. Swing away, Attikus. Swing away.
All right. Okay, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 advantage.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, just with all the righteous fury we've come to expect, you throw just a fucking like straight punch through the hole. And Attikus, the resistance you feel when the fist makes contact, like it still yields under the power of the hit, obviously because you're basically punching flesh with a piston.
Mm-hmm.
But the density of bodies on the other end of this breach is odd, because normally when this thing punches, like you don't feel anything. It's just pure. It's like you're punching air every time. This time there's just so much pushing into this hole that punch still obliterates a bunch of creatures. But you feel resistance just by pure virtue of like there's just a lot of flesh to go through.
Okay.
But give me your damage so I can see how many of these guys you hurt.
Yeah. Okay. And I have knockdown that I can use with the power fist as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna
with all
matter,
those
but okay.
advantages. No, not on the guy that I'm hitting, but it can ripple out apparently. I can knock
that
other
will matter
things down
quite a bit.
if I recorded this correctly. Power fist. Oof. So we're starting at 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Yep, that's 22 damage.
Yeah.
And
Plus
did you
his-
add your successes on top of that?
That was adding
Yeah,
those.
22.
Yeah.
Plus
All
your
right.
like weird sunder pierce.
Yeah, I do have Sunder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And knockdown, I can spend 2 advantage to knock down subsequent enemies. Just 2 advantage. So I got 5. I can knock down 2 of the biggest boys
Okay.
that aren't
Great.
getting directly hit.
So you, as you punch through, 2 Hormagaunts just kind of like turn to mush on your fist, like, scythes out to the side as your fist drives through, and a Gene Stealer does the hero's Johnny, rips through over top, screaming, and your fist just like inverts its face, like just goes straight through it. These things have a pretty high wound threshold because they're a nemesis, so they're like proper strong. Fists don't care. So just, punching straight through one and knocking 2 back behind you. You can see that it's a lot of there are certainly sort of like Gene Stealers amongst the mob, just even through the hole you can see a few kind of larger shapes, but it's a lot of Hormagaunts and Termagant kind of situations. That said, there's something particularly odd about all of them, which you can even see at this distance as there's kind of like that moment of the blast back and then things starting to kind of get to their feet. All of them are standing upright. So it's, again, you don't have a lot of experience with Tyranids, so this may not
really
read
don't.
as strange to you. But normally,
Well, that's okay because Eli just arrived.
Oh, fantastic. Eli, what are all these dogs doing on their hind legs? Like, it's that unnerving a sight to you to see these normally very kind of like hunched over close to the ground type creatures standing just like getting to their feet awkwardly and then kind of like standing erect. Gene Stealers have a much more humanoid shape. They they've got like 4 arms, but their legs are
like humans.
yeah, like humans, like our humans.
Classic
4 arms.
humanoid shape.
We have the
like
big
Spider-Man,
tall arms and
that's
the
how
little closer arms.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Normal.
That we all hide under our shirts during.
All hail the
All of
four-armed
us,
emperor.
Yeah, exactly. You can't see, but my 2 extra arms are doing an Aquila under my shirt. There's just a little one of these down there. Yeah, there's something decidedly human and somewhat almost awkward about them trying to get to their feet. Eli, that strikes you as uncomfortable. That said, you're also looking at a swarm of Tyranids outside. Like, it is all those blips were indeed Tyranids. How's that feel for Eli if you just arrived with your Tyranid knowledge?
It feels like Eli takes a frag grenade out.
When in doubt.
Honestly, it's just like there's no time to panic. He expected this. It's just you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Amazing. Let's throw that grenade.
Yay!
So this is a ranged attack. I think because Attikus just blasted everyone back, we're going to say this is at a difficulty of 3. Because you don't want to throw the grenade too shallow and then have it just explode nearby, like I used to do in Counter-Strike all the time. Then be like, that was $200, and then be mad. And then my 50 modem would disconnect me and it wouldn't matter. So difficulty of 3. I think could give you a boost for just like Attikus has given you like a very nice clear target.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably it on my end. And you're throwing frag?
Yeah, that's frag grenade. What I will be throwing. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I want to add anything more. I'm just gonna fucking toss it.
Heck yeah.
Oh baby, 2 successes, 2 advantages. Yes, which activates blast.
Nice.
So it also has a blast 8. Ooh. So the damage is 10 base damage. So it's going to be 12 damage plus the blast additional 8. So 20 damage to whatever it hit and like everyone else in the immediate vicinity.
Great. So it
fuck yeah, man.
The grenade goes off. It will not surprise you to know I'm playing with swarm rules right now. So it's good news for you because the grenade goes off and just like pulps the like if Attikus like punched a group back, the grenade pulps that group. So there's an explosion, and there's almost like the sound just echoes off this kind of massive engine room, and there's the blast wave kind of ripples throughout the crowd, and almost immediately the ones behind it stagger backward, and you see sort of Termagant style creatures stepping forward with las rifles. Like las guns, and they just start pouring fire into the gap. There's just an immediate shift. The rush-in thing stops, and immediately it's just like to the shoulder aiming and doing a bit of the like the Terminator walk and shoot thing where they're just like walking forward, firing into the gap. Or actually, sorry, I'm not thinking of Terminator. I'm thinking of Clone Troopers because I want it's not one-handed. It is like to the shoulder stock. Just walking forward, pouring laser fire into the gap, which I believe is that time to fall back that you were talking about before, Attikus.
Yeah, it seems appropriate.
You and Eli have a moment as between the grenade going off and the fire pouring in. Do you say anything to each other, or is it all business?
I think it's only the clearest of communication right now.
It's fall back, and
and a nod from Attikus with shield up. Yeah.
Great. So, Valentyne, you won a bunch of triumphs.
You
last
too,
session.
girl. To Chora.
Yeah, she's walking with you. She's like, There's just the briefest hint of like, yeah.
I just imagined Chora being like, "No, what do I do?"
yeah. It's like, in my head, it is literally just like a lyricism, just like the briefest hint of like fucking obviously flipped across her features, meaning nothing to anyone in the scene with her because none of them met her. Yep. So it's just for us at home.
It's just to haunt me.
Yeah, just to haunt you and our beloved listeners at home. We love you. Thank you. I will continue to make you sad. So she comes along. It is very much doing the kind of Han Solo runaway and shoot, where it's just like as you're falling back, just like firing shots at the gap, just to deter and or kill the first thing that comes through. But it's not a particularly aimed thing. Valentyne, you won a bunch of triumphs last time, and you used one of them to rig up a bunch of improvised kind of like guerrilla traps. What have you set up?
I mean, Valentine's first question, weirdly, would be, has Morgan made it to him? Because he's kind of midships, and he'll go to the bridge if that's the most defensible point, but not if there's a risk of leaving Morgan at the back of the ship.
Yeah, I'd say like at around the time that Eli shows up to identify the Tyranids to save him some time, Morgan shows up on the bridge with Toby with a bag of loot. And she looks haunted and gaunt and so happy. Just a big old smile on her face.
That's so reassuring to him. They've had this talk and he's glad that it's carrying forwards. And I think what he will have done is, from the path that they are coming back from the door, he used a pillowcase, and then he actually took off his boots and has both of his socks also filled with like loose bolt shells, and then he's unscrewed the tops of some of them so they have explosives in them, and then he soaked them in the amasec. And in the path from where they would fall back to the bridge, he set them at 3 different points where they're visible from the bridge, so that Morgan, with her sniper rifle, can shoot them and they'll just blow outwards into the corridor. So as they fall back, we've got these kind of explosive weapons along the way. And then he's just armed himself with his bolt pistol at the back, ready to take some shots and like burst into song as combat begins. And he would point out to Morgan and Toby that there's the hole, and that's where we're going if this thing fucking goes completely sideways. We're leaving out of that hidden hatch that he found.
Yeah, just, your boots chafing ever so slightly because you don't have your socks anymore, but like otherwise, just ready for action.
Reminds him of being a schoolboy.
Morgan, anything you would do arriving to this scene? Obviously, having easy targets for your sniper rifle is comfort. Having a bolt hole is particularly comforting, if slightly frustrating because it was here the whole time. You didn't know about it. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you would do in kind of prep for what's coming?
Yeah, having a escape behind us, she would position Toby to drop the bag there, and then have Toby being a extra spotter for her, as he always does when she's with her sniper rifle. And she would get a crate or something to both hide behind and brace her sniper rifle on and set up position and just... all right, Inquisitor.
It's nice to see that you're really taking this with the chipper spirit that we all should in the name of the Emperor.
I don't think that's what it is, but no time for talking.
Agreed. Perhaps it's a time for song.
He's going to turn. And I mean, are they close to him? He can't sing before the battle starts. There's no point to that.
Yeah, you can hear like you certainly hear the grenade go off, and the sounds of combat as Attikus and Eli and Chora fight their way back. You can hear it echoing down the halls now. Like it's clearly coming.
Wonderful. And he is going to hook himself into the overhead Vox so that it will ring through the ship with him out of Eugene, because Valentyne has stayed with a lot of different units that he served with briefly over his time when he was training as a commissar before he became an Inquisitor. And a lot of them adapted old Terran songs that they could carry forwards. And one of his favorites is the Armsman's Boarding Primer. And it was from his brief time working on board a ship. So his voice just starts ringing out in the quieter beginning of the song. Just, with cat-like tread,
Upon our prey we steal, in silence dread, no cautious way we feel, no sound at all, we never speak a word, a fly's footfall could be distinctly heard for Emperor, for Emperor. So stealthily the armsmen creep while all the heretics do sleep. And then it's just like, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. And they come around the corner, and then he's just firing his bolt pistol rhythmically to the song. Come, bang, friends, and board with me. Bang, destroy the navigation. Bang, on their arming stations. Bang, let's end the heresy. Bang, with a little murder spree. Bang, bang, bang. And he's just singing away.
Okay, I love that deeply. Also, being a big fan of Pistol Whip, I gotta say, firing on the beat, well done. Earn yourself some points. Well done, sir. Very well done. We'll loop back around to that because I imagine that that scene is happening while the rest of this happens. So that's what's going on under the rest of what's coming in. Okay, amazing. So. Attikus, Eli, and Chora, you're falling back down, retreating down the hall. Attikus, you've set up a bunch of barricades and stuff. It's almost like just setting up a like in track and field where you have to like jump over, vault
hurdles.
over things. Yeah, hurdles. Thank you. So you've got sort of improvised hurdles along the way. I think you would easily cite Valentyne's traps, even though you haven't served with him for very long. It would be out of place. You didn't leave them there, and as an observant guy, you kind of get what those are.
This is also a weird moment where we practiced boarding actions.
You did.
Yeah.
And this is a classic boarding action. So we all also get an auto boost.
Good work, everyone. So I guess my question for you, Tyler, is what is this look like? Like, is Attikus bringing up the rear? Is it your
the rear of the
yes, basically, are
yeah.
you trying to stay between the swarm and Eli and Chora?
I have
so,
it sort of visualized, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Can you kind of talk me through it? Because I'm curious with I can understand the walk back while shooting, but you have a giant metal fist, so I'm not really sure what this looks like.
Yeah. I think we're trying to buy as much time as possible. So Attikus is trying to set the pace as slowly as possible by being that initial line of defense where Chora and Eli are, backpedaling as needed, but firing over him and beside him. He's in the middle of the hall with his shield up. And if anything basically gets close to the line, i.e. him, he strikes out with a fucking power fist. But he does not open fire in any other scenario. He's just a little mobile cover for any kind of projectiles, or if something gnarly tries to come up and munch on him. It's just as soon as something gets within physical striking distance, he just pops out with a punch and is back to having the shield up.
Okay, great. And Eli, how are you operating in this?
Eli's got a combat shotgun up, just basically backing up. He's the kind of guy, he knows, every inch. He knows exactly what to navigate around. So he knows he can back up very confidently through this space with just, cursory glances back. And just fucking shooting even the slightest hint of something coming through.
Okay, great. So I think what I'm going to do is have both of you roll, and Del, I'm going to have you roll for this as well. I basically just want one combat roll from each of you to kind of stand for what this tactical retreat is looking like in this hallway. And we'll determine kind of what goes down based on your rolls, and I'll roll one for the NIDS. So Tyler, your difficulty being up close and personal will be 2. Eli, I think we're going to say range band for target is 2 as well. You're up close and personal. Morgan, I'm giving you a difficulty of 4 because you're aiming at very specific targets at very specific moments. And I think, yeah. You know what? I'm sorry. I lied. Let's knock it down to 3 because it will be hard for you to hit the furthest one, easy for you to hit the nearest one, and medium to hit the medium range one.
Right.
So let's just split the difference because I don't want you to roll 3 times because in Genesis, that's 8 hours of everyone's time. So we'll knock the difficulty down by 1 to account for some of them being easier, some of them being harder. You're currently at 4 and 1, story point wise. Do with that what you will. And also in terms of each of your roles, you can take things appropriately. Attikus, I am going to give you a setback for having to walk backwards with a shield and punching. It's not you're not set. And I mean, again, It's a giant robo fist. It's just like a little bit awkward for you. Yep. Eli, I'm going to give you a boost for just having a shotgun in close quarters. It's just like, it's harder not to hit things than it is to hit things in this kind of scenario. And Morgan, you can take a boost for the equivalent of taking like an aim action the previous round, because you set your gun up on a box and like did it. And then any other boosts you have from your equipment, please let me know, or just go ahead and add, because I'm sure you all have wacky shit that can help. You get an auto boost from the boarding actions. And I think those of you who are devout, maybe honestly only Attikus gets a boost from hearing Valentyne singing an inspiring song of boarding actions. Morgan and Eli, I don't think that does. Eli actually maybe does something for you. You can tell me, but Morgan, I don't think it does a damn thing for you.
Not for Morgan.
Laura thinking it over.
Yeah.
Because I will say Valentyne sings for 2 reasons. A, it's like good and inspirational and cheerful. And it also establishes that he is not afraid, because it is really hard to sing well if you are terrified. So it's like stabilizing influence. So it's like for devout people, it's there for them. And for regular people, they're like, this guy's fucking nuts.
I mostly mean in that realm where it's like, how much are you excited about? Like, oh, a child of the Emperor is doing, like, we work for him, and how much you just like, shut the fuck up and shoot.
I think for Eli, it would add some confidence in his crewmates, that it's like, yes, we are well trained. Yes, we can be confident about this. Great. Yes, we know what the fuck we're doing.
Fantastic. So yeah, you can take that boost then.
Sweet.
Okay.
Oh, baby.
So let's do these in what I would say is probably the appropriate order, which is Attikus, Eli, and then Morgan. Because in terms of falling back and how this is going to go, that's kind of who we need to know in that order to see kind of where things land. So Attikus, go for it.
3 successes, 3 advantage.
Okay, great. Eli.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, no.
Oh, wait, no, that's okay. Sorry, it turns red to show that it's negative, so I thought it was 6 bad things. 6 advantages.
Okay.
I mean, it's still kind of bad things.
But it does have blast, and blast can be triggered with 3 advantages, even if there are no successes.
Okay, that is good to know. And Morgan.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 successes and 4 advantages. My sniper rifle is insane. You gave me boosts. I got boosts from my skills.
God damn.
There you go.
You know, when I was trying to calculate the difficulty, I was like, I bet the sniper rifle is incredibly good. So what's weird is my brain immediately goes to like, well, if the rifle is good, then the difficulty must be low because the rifle is good. No. No.
It's a good rifle.
But I stand by the setup. I think it all makes sense. Okay, great. So success across the board. And I'd actually argue that, Laura, because you're able to activate blast off the shotgun, Attikus is doing the murdering. You're doing like, you're really just there to stagger and maim. So I think Eli gets what he wants out of that firing action. And then similarly, once you've fallen back far enough, you know, a bullet zings by your shoulder, blows up the improvised explosives. And yeah, you're just getting like, again, bladed hormagaunts on like standing up on their hind legs, rushing forward, slashing, and they are almost windmill arming it. Like it really is just an arm flailing slash, with kind of like lasgun fire kind of coming past them, but it's not like a phalanx coming at you with like, you know, guns over shoulders. It really is just kind of like flailing, screaming monsters with shooty monsters behind them. And, you know, Gene Stealer's kind of packed in a little bit further back as well. But But all things considered, all your training is paid off. You have an incredibly successful retreat. I'm not going to deal any wounds or strain because things kind of went about as well as they can on that front. So you manage to kind of like fight your way back to the bridge. Once you get kind of, you're around the corner, that's when, like Valentyne kicks into singing, his bolt rounds are flying past you. And you're basically holding the creatures at bay until you reach this room. But then, of course, you start to feel that very distinct feeling of like back to wall creatures incoming. So their numbers out just fully overwhelm how long you're able to just kind of pulp them in that hallway. So we are going to do just a full proper round of combat within the bridge of the Dream of Flight. And then we can kind of figure out where we want to go from there based on how that all shakes out. Eli and Attikus, I assume Attikus, you're going to stay up by the gap.
Yep.
And Eli, you're probably going to stay. Honestly, everyone probably stays where they are. I don't think you would tactically really rearrange much of anything.
No, we're not putting the sniper on the front line, and Valentyne is not volunteering for frontline stab duty. I will also just say canonically that Kotov has basically been assigned the bag. He's just standing by the hole.
Yay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like he's just gold blooming in a corner, and Chora is like adding one boost to Eli, let's say, from just like firing.
I had an old boost that it was supposed to pass to Attikus that never got passed to him.
I
wish you had
well
because his
without it.
power fist didn't work without it. He
Yeah.
definitely didn't obliterate
right.
Just saying.
the
I
first full
realized
round of my combat with a single punch. It's cool.
I never passed it along. So.
That's
Okay, well, you know what? You can now. So on Attikus, you get one free boost.
Yeah,
From
baby.
Eli pouting, you get a free boost. Okay, cool. So again, I think we're going to layer this based on kind of what's getting through, and how the rounds go will determine what gets into the room. So there may well be a world where like Valentyne, you're actually just adding boost because nothing got in. Or there might be like an actual, I make your roll.
Yeah, he's got a bolt pistol in one hand and a power sword in the other, so he's ready to dance if something gets through the door.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right,
And
Attikus.
I will also say, canonically, once they've taken the door and it's clear gunfire isn't coming in through it, he will take a step to his side to cover Morgan more accurately, so nobody's like leaping onto her and then getting dealt with. He'd rather engage that immediately.
Sounds good. Okay, Attikus, you're up first. You're holding the line. You have 3 Hormagaunts, just again windmill arming at your shield, and it's less skill and more at this point like just size, weight, and sheer drive. So they're gonna go ahead and slash. That said, I need to make a roll for them. For the for Deveron Gnarl's psyker door that they had to pass in order to reach you.
Yes.
So let's see what happens. It's gonna be really interesting. I have no idea what's gonna happen with this, but we're gonna do it anyway. Boop. All right, I'm rolling. Oh damn! 2 failures. Okay. So Attikus, you're watching. As you fall back, the final bomb has gone off. You're moving past that room. You feel a little bit ill, but you don't care. You're busy punching. As you move back towards the gap, you actually hear some like unearthly screams from within the mob of Tyranids. It is some proper Xeno shrieking. It is like from the depths of these creatures' guts. Just that like a horrific, high-pitched, shredding shriek. And you actually see like a few heads just kind of drop down, kind of like raptors in the grass style, and immediately just sprays of blood across the walls as these shrieks happen, and the mob gets a little bit tangled up. It still comes at you, but I'm actually going to say only 2 Hormagaunts make it to you because there's some kind of dare I say chaos occurring within the swarm, and it seems that a few of them have turned on a few of the other ones and are just going ape shit. So only 2 are in close range with you. Their numbers are a little bit thinned because they have to walk through a wheel of slicing blades to get past it. They are, to be clear, but it's slowing them down a bit. So that's that. You get 1 free boost from Eli, that he's been saving for a special occasion, a rainy day. We're out of boarding action. This is just straight dirty combat now, so you won't get that boost. You still get a boost because Valentyne is at this point like mid-song from what Ryan sang us, so like plenty of lyrics to go. And then that's, I think, it for me.
It's still 2 difficulty?
Yep, because you're engaged in close combat.
Okay. Ready to roll.
All right.
1 triumph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes, and then 3 advantage.
Man, I don't know. I keep trying to design these combats in such a way that like everyone gets a punch, but I don't think everyone gets a punch on this one. I feel like
It's cool.
I feel like some of us can shoot the Gene Stealers at the back. The Hormagaunts are always the first wave that like falls on its ass. It's the Gene Stealers you got to worry about.
Yeah. All right. Tyler, describe how you push back the tide.
Oh, wow. They come up on the repulsor shield. I think that's what it's called. Suppression shield. They come up on the suppression shield. And Attikus, his feet are like dug in, but like into what? Right? Like it's just a steel floor or like a grate or something like that. So his boots kind of slide back a little bit. And he just glances through one of the maybe many holes in the hull now at this point and sees that, like, we can't bolt just yet. We need to hold them. We need more to come in here before we can go out there. And so he grits his teeth and he says, "For the Emperor!" And just linebacker pushes them back like a bulldozer scooping dirt.
Great. All right. I love that. So you jam them back and I think like into the swirling blades and screams. To Ryan's point, you watch a Gene Stealer, like who again is like slightly taller because it's standing fully upright, get pulled under in this mob, and you see like a telltale like 3 of the 4 hands shoot up in the like grasping at the sky kind of thing as this thing gets mulched. But I'm actually not going to make Eli, Morgan, or Valentyne roll on this one because I think like, why would I at that pace? To be clear from the narrative, like you guys are still funneling fire into this tunnel.
Yeah.
Oh
But
yeah,
Attikus
we haven't won. The Tyranids surrender. We have our first negotiation with them.
He's got it. It's fine.
Tyranid Accords.
Yeah. And then Captain America fights Iron Man. It's really strange. So you shove them back, and then you, I think, fall back to kind of your safety. And Valentyne, your song continues to kind of echo throughout. Kotov, will say, is keeping an eye on that. Attikus, he's like checking the scanners, and he just says like, "Hey, we're." Well, we're not quite at escape time, but soonish, maybe, promptly we should, and you can see from the scan that there are certainly like the numbers are dwindling outside as they cram in. Unfortunately, at this point, as you indicated, Attikus, there are enough like smaller holes elsewhere that they're now coming in through a bunch of different hallways. The nice thing is you're on the bridge, so there's really only one way in, so you can still kind of keep them at a choke point, but certainly more and not great.
Over the din of all this, would Attikus be able to try to communicate with the group at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think just while like grunting and punching and generally snarling right back at these stupid creatures. Attikus would say, "Is there any way to set off self-destruct from the bridge?"
Well, that feels like a Kotov question.
You say between verses and continue to sing. And Kotov looks and, back at all of you and says, "Well, I mean, I can probably
Do it.
Yeah, all right." So he starts hacking in. You get the sense it's probably going to take him a full round of combat in order to do it. But if the goal is not to gently bump the systems, but rather to just overload them and cause a massive chain reaction.
I mean, it's a battery. Batteries can explode, right?
Yeah, he's good at breaking things, so he'll get to work on that. So he begins to hack into the system. You can just hear the scratching, Eli, that you're all too familiar with of Tyranid claws ripping up the green carpets as they kind of tear towards the entrance. Morgan, you're taking your convenience shots.
Mm-hmm.
Valentyne, you're pumping ammo through. Eli, I think just do you think that for Eli there's any amount of vindication in getting to just pump shotgun rounds into Tyranids, or is it just does this feel?
It's always
good
a great
vengeance?
feeling.
Yeah.
It's always a good feeling to destroy the enemy, especially one that caused him such. I mean, I was gonna say such grief. That's a mild way of putting, fucking upturned his entire life. So, yeah.
This time it's personal.
It's it's very satisfying.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels
so just
right.
kind of like a joy of combat.
It almost like reinforces like his belief that no matter what anyone else said, he was right in doing what he did, because this is what could have happened elsewhere.
Yeah.
Are you saying it? Would Eli be saying anything or yelling anything, or is this just cold fury?
No, there's no need to say anything. Everyone's doing their job. He's trained to just. We're in combat. This is combat. This is no time for yes, I feel good.
No, I got you. I just was given how many times you've yelled with the goddamn Tyranids, I was just wondering if you were yelling that, and if not, cool, you're in your element.
No, it's just
just doing your job.
Yeah.
It's going to be after. That was the goddamn Tyranids.
Yeah.
And Morgan, how tempting is that bolt hole right now?
Man, Morgan is in the fury of combat, I think, because it really is, especially once Valentyne stepped behind her to cover her, I'm stuck here until something else happens, basically. But also just, she's so concentrated because it's Toby is spotting, so she's figuring out where all those, between Attikus swinging in his arms and other people moving, watching at that back overview, and then as soon as it's cleared, taking a shot, and then next, and then taking a shot. So she's super zoned in, almost like arcade shooter style, really super narrow focus.
I was gonna say, I don't think I'd fully grasped how mentally trying aiming through a remote camera would be incredibly useful for spotting, but having that split vision is very, to your point about arcade shooter. It's like the old Silent Scope games where it's you have your scope and then also just looking around the arcade cabinet at the same time. Yeah, that's worth focusing on. So everyone is focused. Everyone's zoned in. Kotov begins to kind of hack into the systems, and immediately weird things start to happen to the cabin. As he's just brute forcing his way through systems, the lights start turning on and off a bit. Not so much that it's distracting, but just it's there. And various systems seem to be coming on and turning off. And Valentyne, as you reach the crescendo at the kind of the end of this hymn that you were just serenading us with, the mics to the speakers to the ship actually cut out, right on the final the big finale. They suddenly cut. and you're just singing it like into this room with your retinue, underscored by the screeching claws of the Tyranid forces that are storming down toward you. And almost a moment later, the Vox comes back on, and a voice sings the final verse in harmony with you, in a beautiful operatic voice, and just harmonizes on the final couple notes. And immediately the Tyranids stop, and just kind of stand almost at attention, staring in. And it's in this moment that suddenly the screens begin to click on around you as Kotov continues to tinker with the systems. And over the speaker boxes, you just hear like a contented sigh. And one voice emanating both over the speakers and from every Tyranid assembled just says, I've always loved that one, and I haven't heard it in quite some time. You've got an incredible voice there, Inquisitor. I'm sorry, this is a terrible way to meet and under terrible circumstances. You'll have to forgive my lack of hospitality. My name's Inquisitor Cainhurst. What's yours? And on the screens, you see a massive bio shape drag itself out of the cargo hold, with massive wings, and a gnarly kind of disjointed Tyranid carapace. And you're not sure where it is, but you know somewhere buried in this mass is the face of your former Inquisitor. Cainhurst would like a word.
What in the name of the Golden Throne? This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Eli Sharp, Del Borovic at Deltastic on Twitter as Morgan Rawls, and our Game Master Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com, DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. The Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Roman Brown, Spot Allen, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG It's Big Nick, D&D and Things, Norma Byers, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Flea Unit, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Melissa Rain, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.